Have you ever been scrolling online, maybe late at night, and you see a story that just makes you go, whoa? It's usually something dramatic, something with a hero and a villain. Well, recently the internet cooked up one of its classic blockbusters starring Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the leader of Burkina Faso. The story spread like wildfire across platforms: TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook. The claim was simple and powerful. Traoré had bravely, defiantly told the United States, "Thanks, but no thanks." He'd turned down multiple invitations to meet with U.S. officials, including a supposed invite to the White House itself. It was the ultimate David versus Goliath narrative for the digital age, a young African leader standing up to a global superpower. This wasn't just a small rumor, it was a full-blown viral sensation. People shared posts, created memes, wrote long, passionate captions praising Traoré's supposed courage. The narrative painted him as an anti-imperialist icon, a leader who refused to bow to Western pressure. Dramatic photos of Traoré in his military uniform circulated widely. The sheer volume of posts gave them an air of legitimacy. When you see something repeated 1,000 times from 1,000 different accounts, your brain starts to think, well, there must be something to this, right? So, why did this particular story explode? What was the secret sauce that made the tale of Traoré's snub so infectious? It comes down to a few key ingredients. First, you have a charismatic main character. Captain Ibrahim Traoré isn't your typical politician in a suit. He's a 37-year-old military leader, often seen in combat fatigues, speaking passionately about national pride and self-sufficiency. This image resonates with a younger generation tired of the old guard. He represents a new, assertive Africa forging its own path. People see him as a symbol of hope and change. Second, the story taps into a deep, long-standing sentiment. Many across Africa and the developing world feel their relationship with Western powers has been unequal. Political interference, economic exploitation, a lack of respect for sovereignty. A leader pushing back becomes catharsis. It validates long-held frustrations. It's about a continent standing up for itself. The rumor became a bite-sized example, easy to share. The third ingredient is simplicity. The world is complicated. Diplomacy, economics, history. But Traoré says no to the U.S. quote is instant and clear. It's a hero versus giant story anyone gets in 5 seconds. So we have this massive viral story that everyone is talking about. It feels true, it sounds true, it fits a narrative many people believe in, but now it's time to do the one thing the internet often forgets to do: check the receipts. When professional fact-checkers like the team at Dubawa, an independent verification organization, decided to investigate these claims, they hit a wall. They looked everywhere for any shred of proof, scoured official government websites, combed through press releases from the U.S. State Department and the Burkina Faso government, searched the archives of reputable news organizations around the world. What did they find? Absolutely nothing. There was no official statement, no leaked document, no credible media report. It's important to understand how diplomacy works. An official invitation between heads of state, or even a refusal of one, is a significant event. It would almost certainly be reported by news agencies or mentioned in government briefings. The complete absence of any such record is not just a small detail, it's a giant red flag. The entire story appears to have been born and raised exclusively on social media, with no connection to real-world events. The claims were often vague, mentioning the White House or U.S. officials without specific dates or contexts. Fact-checking organizations concluded that these viral posts were classic examples of disinformation created to generate online engagement and push a particular political narrative. One of the most specific and widely circulated versions of the rumor was that Captain Traoré had been invited to President Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration and had boldly turned it down. This detail made the story seem more concrete and believable. It wasn't just a vague refusal to meet, it was a rejection of a high-profile symbolic event. People shared this tidbit as the ultimate proof of Traoré's defiance. The image of a young African leader saying no to a glamorous ceremony in Washington, D.C. However, when fact-checkers dug into this specific claim, the story completely fell apart. The problem wasn't just that there was no evidence of Traore being invited, the problem was much bigger. According to official reports and guest lists confirmed by multiple sources, including Dubawa's investigation, absolutely no African heads of state were invited to President Trump's 2025 inauguration. The event's international guest list was reportedly focused on leaders from Europe, leaders from Asia. So, the claim that Traore declined an invitation is impossible. You can't decline an invitation you never received. This fact completely dismantles a core pillar of the viral narrative. It wasn't a matter of Traore's choice or his political stance. It was a matter of the event's logistics and the organizers' priorities. The decision to exclude African leaders was a diplomatic choice made by the inauguration committee. So if the stories about snubbed invitations are false, does that mean everything is perfectly fine between Burkina Faso and the United States? Not at all. In fact, the reality is almost as dramatic as the fiction, just a lot more complex. The relationship between the two countries has been under serious strain, especially since Captain Traore came to power in a coup in September 2022. While he may not have refused a meeting in the way the internet claimed, his government has taken very real and very public steps to reduce Western influence, which has inevitably created tension with Washington. It's not a story of a single, dramatic no, but a series of deliberate policy changes. One of the most significant moves was the expulsion of French troops from Burkina Faso. For years, France had a military presence as part of counterterrorism in the Sahel. Traore's government demanded they leave, calling it ineffective and a breach of sovereignty. This was a massive geopolitical shift. By expelling the French military, Burkina Faso signaled the old order was over. Beyond the military, Traore has targeted economic dependencies. He talks about reclaiming control of natural resources, especially gold mines. Those mines were often run by Western corporations. The government moved to nationalize some assets, saying national wealth should serve the people. That policy challenges decades-old international business models. Popular at home, it has made Western governments and corporations nervous, so it's not one symbolic no, it's a fundamental reorientation of foreign and domestic policy. The growing tensions between the United States and Burkina Faso haven't just been simmering behind closed doors. They have spilled out into the open, with U.S. officials publicly criticizing Captain Traore and his government. This is a significant step in diplomacy. When criticism moves from private diplomatic cables to public forums, it's a clear signal that the relationship is in serious trouble. One of the most striking examples of this came in April 2025, during a hearing before the United States Senate. This wasn't a random press conference, it was a formal testimony to the highest levels of the U.S. government. During this hearing, U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, Commander Michael Langley singled out Captain Traore by name. He didn't mince words. Langley accused the Burkinabe leader of using the country's nationalized gold reserves not for the benefit of his people, but to protect his junta. This was a direct and personal attack on Traore's integrity and his stated motivations. The U.S. military's top commander for Africa was essentially telling the Senate that he believed Traore's revolutionary rhetoric was a sham, a cover for consolidating his own power. This kind of public accusation is a major diplomatic escalation. The statement from Commander Langley is important because it represents the official U.S. government position. This wasn't a pundit on TV or an anonymous source. This was a high-ranking official making a formal statement. The accusation directly challenges the narrative of popular sovereignty that Traore has carefully built. It attempts to reframe him from a Pan-African hero into a self-serving military dictator. This shows that the United States is actively engaged in a battle of narratives. Despite the frosty relationship with the United States and its Western allies, it would be a huge mistake to think that Captain Ibrahim Traoré is diplomatically isolated. In fact, quite the opposite is true. While he may have closed the door to some, he has opened it wide to others. He remains a highly active and visible figure on the international stage, particularly among nations seeking to challenge the Western-led global order. His popularity, described in May 2025 as making him arguably Africa's most popular president, gives him a platform and influence beyond his country's borders. A clear example is his relationship with Russia. Traore has not been shy about his alignment with Moscow. He has made high-profile visits to Russia, including attending Victory Day celebrations. During these visits, he has met directly with President Vladimir Putin. Photos of Traore and Putin shaking hands have been broadcast globally. These meetings are not just symbolic, they are working sessions to deepen military cooperation, economic cooperation, diplomatic cooperation. For Traore, appearances alongside a major power like Russia reinforce his image as a significant global player, not a pariah. Traore has been a leading voice in creating the Alliance of Sahel States, a mutual defense pact with neighboring Mali and Niger. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? The story of Ibrahim Traore's supposed snub of the United States is a perfect case study in how the modern world consumes information. We live in an age where emotions often travel faster than facts. A story that makes us feel proud, angry, vindicated can spread to millions of people in a matter of hours, regardless of whether it's true. A single click, a share, a retweet has the power to build a hero, create a villain, shape a global narrative. This power is incredible, but it's also incredibly dangerous when it's not guided by a commitment to the truth. The danger lies in the creation of an alternate reality. When millions of people believe a false story, it can have real-world consequences. It can deepen divisions, foster unwarranted hostility, make genuine diplomatic solutions harder to achieve. If people believe their leaders are engaged in dramatic, movie-like confrontations, they might demand more aggression, less compromise, making the already difficult job of international relations nearly impossible. Misinformation flattens complexity and replaces it with simple, emotionally satisfying fictions. This is why the boring, unglamorous work of fact-checking is more important than ever. It's our only shield against the tidal wave of misinformation, and that's no rumor.